and the legendary broadcaster David Hamilton. Morning to you both.
Good
morning.
To see you
this
morning.
Emma, let's start with the Times show. I mean, what do you make of it, though, David? Because obviously this is a huge blow for not only the Chelsea as a club, but the fans of Chelsea as well.
You're talking to a Fulham supporter here.
Well, so you don't mind.
These are our arch rivals from down the road. But no, seriously, yes, financially, this could cause all sorts of problems for Chelsea. So one feels very sorry for their supporters. This is what happens when you have a Russian owner. You know, these are the chances that you take. By the way, overnight, I've gone a bit Mutton Jeff. So if I don't hear you too well today, I apologise. At least the voice is working OK.
Just keep talking, David. It's fine.
We can hear you clearly, David. Don't worry
about it.
Don't worry. Because I guess these...
David, as a pensioner, I mean...
No.
Well, yes, indeed. Indeed.
Keep going. No, I heard that.
It's not as young as...
Suddenly my hearing's come back.
Selective hearing, David.
Can I just say something? I was actually alive during the Second World War. And I was too young to remember much about it, but my father fought in the British Army in Italy. He was shot and he remembered it very well. And he came back and he told me stories about the brutality and the futility of war. And I can't believe that this is happening again in 2022. And when you think that, you know, the world has embraced diversity, equality, fairness, and here is this monster in Moscow who is turning the clock back 80 years. It seems absolutely incredible. And, you know, one of the problems is that when you start a war, you can't just finish it. You never quite know where it's going to go to. And what worries me is if this goes wrong, as it inevitably will, and he is then cornered, I wonder whether he might say, well, I'm going and I'm going to take a lot of other people with me. That's one of the things that worries me very much about this. So, yes, as a pensioner, I've seen one world war and I don't want to see another. And I think we are on the precipice of something very, very dangerous. And I think this is why we have to tread very, very carefully. Our hearts go out to these people every day. What we've seen, I mean, bombing children, pregnant women. I mean, it's just appalling, isn't it? We're all shocked by it, and our hearts go out to them. And when the president appeals to us, obviously we want to help in any way that we can. But if we put a boot on Ukraine's soil, we are talking about maybe another world war, and that's where we have to be so careful.
And Diddy David Hamilton, morning to you.
Good morning.
Couldn't resist, David, sorry. The nickname never goes away, does it?
No, it doesn't. It was given to me a long time ago by Ken Dodd. There's no truth in the rumour that it was after he saw me in the shower.
Well, I don't know. I always believe what Ken Dodd had to say. Emma, let's have a look at The Guardian, should we?
The story in the Mail is about a departing chief inspector who has said the police must not give up on burglary. And while they are involving themselves in lesser important crimes, I mean, burglary is an awful thing. The intrusion of your home, you know, an Englishman's home is his castle. Yeah. Or an English woman's home is her castle. But I think one of the problems is that nowadays you don't see so many bobbies on the beat. And if you look at the old films on television, you always see the bobby on the beat, and he is the man doing his rounds in the evening when it's dark, who sees a light or hears a sound, investigates. And I think that's one of the problems. So they are recruiting.
I mean, it's the Dixon of Doc Gray.
You can always find a policeman when you don't want one. When you're speeding,
yes, good point.
You can find a policeman easily.
But even
when you want one,
yeah, but even having taken this,
I think it's a case of priorities, and I think burglary is something that should be prioritised more.
I agree.
Yeah, it does have that real impact on you when it happens.
Yeah.
David, to the Times, looking at the Chinese connection with Russia, because this is actually a real concern, isn't it?
It certainly is. And the headline here is China cools links with Russia as it recognises war. And the story is that China has acknowledged for the first time that a war is taking place in Ukraine and appears to be holding back supplies from Russia. I think everybody was very concerned about China because they have aspirations towards Taiwan. And I think that the hope is that they may have seen what has happened in the Ukraine, and it might perhaps have dissuaded them, because the thought of China and Russia together as a world power, and maybe North Korea as well, would be extremely worrying for the West. And I think everybody was wondering, where did China stand on this? Because up until now, they pretty well, you know, been on the sidelines. So I think if they have cooled their links with Russia, that can only be a very good thing.
Yeah, much Putin's war.
Just wanted to add to Emma's comments there, actually, and say how fantastic that her family are taking in some Ukrainian refugees. We're just waiting now for Yvette Cooper to take in hers. We will look forward to that. Promise that she made some. Promise that was made some time ago.
Yeah,
my story is Frederick Forsyth in the Express. I think he's an excellent writer, not only novelist, but I love his column. And the headline today is "Why Ukraine Must Aim Low to Beat Putin." He's got some very, very good advice here. He says, if I were advising Ukraine, I would offer just two pieces of comfort. One is strategic and the other one is tactical. First of all, do not contest Russia's military might face to face. Its troops are too many, too well armed and too strong, so long as they stick to cities and motorways. But they are overwhelmingly wheel reliant. And he says, make this a war of fast moving, invisible partisans, of ambush after ambush, of sniper attack after sniper attack. The shoulder-borne missiles that we have sent, with more to follow, never miss, and no tank can take a direct hit and survive. So very good advice. There's a lot more in that article by Frederick Forsyth, worth reading.
I mean, it's good to have war, an awful thing.
Can you imagine sending soldiers to a war? They think they're on manoeuvres. They don't know there's a war anyway. And having mobile crematoriums travelling behind them so that if they are killed, they don't go back in body bags. I mean, it beggars belief, doesn't it? It's just appalling.
What keeps you going, David? In your,
keeps me going?
Because you're the eldest of our panel by a year or two.
Oh, by a year or three, yes, absolutely. I don't know. I just think I've been lucky. Both my parents died in their 50s.
Oh, wow.
From lung cancer. So how I've got to this age, I don't know. I was an only child, so I didn't have any brothers or sisters. I think really basically, you know, as I mentioned to you before, clean living.
Clean living. Yes,
is the answer.
Yeah, right.
I have a pal of mine, Pete Murray, you know, is a legendary broadcaster and my mentor, really. He's 96 now, Pete, and he smokes like a chimney. So, I mean, there are no rules, are there? I think a lot of it is luck, to be honest.
Oh, I think a lot of it. In terms of your longevity, it is tied to your genes. Did your parents both smoke, having died from lung cancer?
Yeah, they both smoked, and they died in their 50s. So I smoked until I was 50, which was very stupid, really. And I think giving up smoking was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's just the heavy drinking and the junk food now.
Sure. Yeah, I thought with all this, you know, heavy news about, you know, the war, I'd finish on something light. So the Mail has a little story today about a football match that ended in 54 penalties. It finished up 25-24. And apparently the previous record was held in Namibia in 2005. This penalty shootout lasted 45 minutes. So it was a great night for goalkeepers, but not a great night at the club bar.
No. Oh, can you imagine?
Incredible, isn't it?
Can you imagine? You have no fingernails left, would you, watching that?
Yeah.
Look, David, Emma, thank you. We're out of time, but thank you both very much indeed. I know you're obviously on the music side of things. You're quite keen to talk about Adele. What do you make of what is going on with Adele?
I find that extraordinary, really. I mean, I remember the old adage, the show must go on. And obviously it doesn't apply in her case. I feel very sorry for the people who have spent a fortune on tickets and travel and hotels and can't get their money back. And I think if it was going to happen, I think she could have decided a little bit earlier. I think to do it at the last minute is really very, very unfair. And I don't think you can completely blame it on COVID. I know a lot of things have been cancelled because of that. But I think, yeah, as an old pro, us old pros think the show goes on, don't we? I think there is another side of this as well, which is that, you know, I've been to Vegas and the shows there are very spectacular. I saw Dean Martin with a 40-piece orchestra behind him. Another show called Hallelujah Hollywood, where people fly out over the audience. You know, the acts come flying out on wires. And I think for her just to sing, some people have said it would be enough if she just sang the songs. But I think she probably wanted to give them a bit more of a show. So in fairness to her, I think that may be part of the...
You saw Dean Martin?
Yes.
That's quite something.
Oh, wonderful. He came out with a drink in his hand. I was watching with Ernie Wise. We were there.
What?
There in the audience. He came up
Sorry,
with...
hold on.
Yeah.
So you're name dropping now.
We were
Ernie Wise, you were out with Ernie Wise?
Yeah, well, we were on a trip with Thames Television. We were selling British programmes to the American market. And as a treat at the end of the week, they took us to Las Vegas. And we went to see Dean Martin at the MGM Grand. He came up with a drink in his hand and he looked at the orchestra behind him and he looked at the audience and he said, "What are these people doing in my bedroom?" So Ernie Wise said to me, he said he doesn't drink. He said it's a gimmick. He said nobody could have that impeccable timing if he drank.
Wow.
But what an act.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know if I'd be more impressed with the act or the company.
That's amazing,
Something like
isn't
that.
it? He was one of the Rat Pack, wasn't he?
He was one of the Rat Pack, yes.
Him, Sammy Davis Jr., Sinatra.
Yeah, there are a few others.
And they used to do a residency at Las Vegas, and that must have been quite something.
Well, the shows were very spectacular, so I can see from her point of view that perhaps she thought just singing the songs was not enough. But I think she's let a lot of people down. I wonder if they'll still buy her records after this.
Yeah,
some of the tickets were incredibly expensive, apparently up to £22,000. Who's got £22,000 to go to a show?
Loving
it's amazing, isn't it?
Loving it, but I suppose